I'd always loved the outdoors. A few weeks ago, I decided to take a road trip through the Appalachian Mountains for my blog. The day was clear, the sun was shining, and I felt excited. I thought this trip would give me great material. But things changed once I got deeper into the mountains. I parked at a roadside diner just before dusk. It looked charming, rustic in a way I hoped would spark some memories. I walked in, and the bell above the door jingled softly. The smell of fried food hit me, warm but strange. I sat down at the counter. The locals huddled in the corner whispered. I tried to listen. Words like cursed and lost stuck out. A chill ran down my spine. After eating, I left the diner. The fog rolled in fast, thick and heavy. I got back into my car and continued down the winding road. That's when I noticed the signs. One read "Turn back" and another said, "You're not welcome here." I shrugged them off as a joke, but unease settled in my stomach. I stopped again at a small overlook, hoping for a nice view. But the mist enveloped everything. I got out, and it felt like the world faded away. I thought I heard a voice, just a whisper on the wind. My heart raced. I told myself it was nothing. Just my imagination. As night fell, the road became unsettlingly quiet. Abandoned cars lined the shoulder. They were covered in dust and weeds. I felt a knot in my stomach. I pushed down my rising panic and drove on. Sometimes it felt like I was being watched. The feeling crept over me like mist, cold and heavy. I drove deeper and spotted a figure beside the road. It was a man, or at least I thought so. He just stood there, staring at me. I slowed down, ready to ask if he needed help. But when I looked again, he was gone. My heart raced. A chill shot through me. Then, I heard the voice. "Why are you here?" It was low, almost a whisper. I looked around, but there was nobody else. My pulse quickened. I didn't know what to do next. The darkness felt thick and alive, pressing in around me. I continued to drive, my hands trembling on the wheel. The fog closed in, wrapping around my car. I could barely see. I spotted shadows moving, but I couldn't tell if they were real. The whispers returned, filling the silence. I felt dizzy, like I was being pulled into the depths of the fog. Then, the voice came again, louder this time. "Why are you here?" I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I wanted to drive faster, wanted to escape. I glanced at the rearview mirror. No one was there, but the air felt charged. I felt dread seep into my bones. Suddenly, I saw the figure again, standing right in the road. I slammed on the brakes. My heart was racing as I struggled to breathe. He watched me with those wide eyes. I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't know what to do. As the fog swirled, everything felt wrong. I could only think of one thing: I needed to get out of there. I closed my eyes for a moment, hoping to clear my head. I took a deep breath and looked back at the road, but the figure was gone. Heart pounding, I decided it was time to leave. I pressed the gas and drove forward, desperate to shake off the feeling of dread that clung to me. As I navigated the winding road, I spotted a sign that read "Welcome to Eldridge." The name meant nothing to me, but I hoped it was a safe place to stop. I saw lights in the distance and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I would find someone who could help. But as I approached, my optimism faded. The lights flickered eerily, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement. I rolled to a stop outside a small, dilapidated gas station. The sign hung crooked, and the windows were nearly opaque with grime. It looked abandoned, but there was a faint glow inside. I hesitated but decided to get out. Maybe someone was still around. The air felt heavy as I stepped onto the porch. My footsteps echoed too loudly in the silence. I peered through the window. Nothing stirred inside. I pushed the door open, and the creak made my skin crawl. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. No reply came. I stepped inside, half expecting a ghost to greet me. The shelves were lined with dusty snacks, and a faded map of the Appalachian Mountains hung askew on the wall. I walked further in, my anxiety growing. The back door swung slightly, disturbed by a draft. I approached it cautiously. That's when I noticed something on the floor, a frayed piece of rope. It looked out of place. I bent down to inspect it, my heart racing. Had someone been tied up here? A chill swept through the room. "Why are you here?" The voice echoed in my mind, sending chills down my spine. I turned quickly, half expecting to see the man from the road. But there was nothing. Just me and the heavy silence. I tried to shake off the looming dread. I had to get back to my car. I stepped back to the exit but froze in my tracks. A figure loomed outside the glass door, peering in. I squinted, my breath hitching. It was the man again, but now he looked clearer, his face painted with an expression of pain and urgency. "Run!" he mouthed, but no sound escaped. My heart racing, I turned and sprinted back toward the front door. The world felt surreal as I burst outside. The fog had thickened, swirling around my legs. I darted to my car and fumbled for my keys. That's when I heard the whispers again, a chorus of voices rising from the depths of the fog. "You shouldn't have come here," they trailed off, blending into a chilling reminder of what I wanted to forget. Just as I started my engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The man stood watching me, his eyes wide with fear. I hit the gas, tires screeching, sending gravel flying. But panic clawed at my insides. I had to know more. Why did he warn me? What was really happening here? As I sped away from Eldridge, a shadowy figure darted in front of my headlights. I yanked the wheel, barely avoiding a collision. The forest swallowed me whole again, darkness everywhere. Whatever was going on, I knew this was just the beginning. The road stretched on, a winding ribbon of uncertainty ahead of me. My heart still raced from my near miss with disaster. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, much more than I could see out my windshield. As the darkness deepened, I reached for my phone. Neither service nor any signal appeared on the screen, just a spinning searching icon. Great. I tossed it down in frustration. I didn't even know where I was going, but I knew I had to keep moving. I spotted a pull-off to my right and decided to stop for a minute. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel. I needed to breathe and clear my mind. I parked and stepped out into the cool night. The air felt different here, charged, almost electric. My instincts screamed at me to get back on the road, but I wanted to collect myself. Then I heard it again, the whispers clawing at the edges of my mind. "You shouldn't have come here." The voices seemed to resonate from the shadows around me. I turned, searching for the source. My breath quickened, panic rising again. Out of the corner of my eye, a flicker of movement caught my attention. I turned sharply to see a light dancing through the trees. It was erratic, almost mocking. I stepped further onto the gravel, drawn to it against my better judgment. Was someone else out there? Was it just a trick of my mind? As I approached the source, I noticed it was an old lantern sitting on a wooden post, dim and flickering. I picked it up, inhaling the musty scent, something like burning oil mixed with decay. My gut twisted. Why was this here? Had someone been waiting? That's when I heard the rustle behind me. I spun around, clutching the lantern. It was just a deer, skittish and wide-eyed. I sighed, laughing nervously at my own overactive imagination. Just a deer, I told myself. Still, the tension in the air was thick, and I felt exposed, as if I were being watched. I looked back at the lantern, and there it was again. The light had shifted. It flickered, almost guiding me deeper into the woods. I hesitated, conflicted between staying safe and the urge to uncover the mystery of this place. Before I could think further, I took a step back. That's when I stumbled on something firm hidden in the grass. I knelt to examine it. A rusted, tarnished keychain, cold metal clinking against my palms. The tag was faded, but I could make out a name: Ben. Who was Ben? Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket, vibrating like a trapped animal. I fumbled for it, and to my surprise, the screen lit up with a message: "Get out now." The voice was frantic, unrecognizable. My heart raced even faster. I shot a glance toward the trees, half expecting shadows to leap out at me. "Ben," I whispered. "Who are you?" Then everything darkened. A heavy silence fell, and the air became thick, suffocating. I felt a presence behind me, oppressive and cold. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach as darkness surrounded me. Whatever was happening in Eldridge was far from over. I had unwittingly stepped into something far more dangerous. I stood frozen, trapped in an unseen grip. The darkness felt alive, swirling around me like a dense fog. I turned slowly, my hands shaking around the lantern, its weak light barely cutting through the suffocating gloom. I was not alone, and the realization sent shivers down my spine. "Hello?" I called, my voice sounding small and far away. My heart thundered in my chest as I strained to listen for any reply. The only answer was the rustling leaves, almost mocking in their rustle. Was someone watching? "Get out now." I imagined the voice again, the urgency cutting through the fog of my fear. Who had sent it? My instincts screamed for action. I had to leave. Just as I turned to head back to my car, I caught a glimpse of a figure in the shadows. It was quick, almost a blur. I felt a rush of adrenaline, urging me to run, but I was rooted to the spot. I squinted, trying to discern any details, but it faded into the trees. "Ben?" I tried again, unsure if the name carried more weight than I understood. I felt like I was at the edge of something terrifying, the boundary of a nightmare. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to move. I turned back towards my car, but just as I stepped off the gravel path, the lantern flickered violently, casting erratic shadows across the ground. My heart sank as the whispers returned, layered and hushed, like multiple voices weaving around me. "You shouldn't have come here." The cold grip of fear tightened around me. I paused, my fear battling against my curiosity. What did they mean? Who were they? With every moment, I felt the urgency to escape deepen, but I couldn't leave without answers. I turned back once more, determined to confront whatever was lurking in the darkness. A shape shifted deeper in the trees, a figure, taller than me, with an outline that seemed to flicker with the lantern's light. Whoever it was, they were watching me. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice stronger than I felt. I took a step forward, the lantern illuminating just enough to see the glimmer of eyes reflecting back at me. "I am," the figure began, but before they could finish, the light went out completely, swallowing me in darkness. I gasped and raised the lantern overhead, hoping to reveal something, anything. Panic surged through me. My pulse raced as I fumbled with the lantern, slapping it against my palm to coax it back to life. Just then, a cold wind swept through the trees, carrying with it a low moan, faint and sorrowful. The lantern flickered back to life, illuminating the face of an old man, his eyes hollow and sunken. My breath caught in my throat. Ben? It had to be him. Before I could react, he stepped closer, and I could see the desperation etched across his features. "You have to leave." "It's coming," he shouted, pointing into the blackness behind me. A chill swept over my body as I felt something massive shift in the shadows, growing ever closer. I had no time to waste. I turned and ran, my heart racing as I fled through the trees, guided only by the weak flicker of the lantern in my hand. There was no looking back. Whatever was in the woods was much worse than I ever could have imagined. I dashed through the trees, branches clawing at my arms, the lantern swinging wildly in my trembling grip. I didn't dare look back. The old man's warning echoed in my mind, filling me with dread. I could feel it behind me, whatever it was, lurking in the darkness, waiting for an opportunity. I sprinted along the unfamiliar path, my breath coming in sharp gasps. My thoughts raced as I struggled to remember the way back to my car. Panic threatened to overwhelm me, but I clung to the flickering light like a lifeline, focusing on each beam's glow as it danced alongside me. A sudden noise made me stop short, a heavy thud that vibrated through the ground, sending another wave of terror crashing over me. I could hear something moving in the underbrush, something big, and it was getting closer. I peered into the shadows, half expecting to see a monstrous figure towering over me. No. Don't look. Just run. But the pull of curiosity was powerful. I had to know. Against every instinct, I turned around, scanning the dark silhouette of trees behind me. The night held its breath, and for a moment, everything was still. The only sound was the faint rustle of leaves. Then I saw it, a shadow flitting among the trees, fluid and silent, like a predator on the prowl. My heart raced as I spun back around and sprinted again, certain it was coming for me. I burst through a thicket and stumbled into a small clearing. The moonlight peeked through the canopy, illuminating the scene just enough for me to catch my breath. A pile of stones stood in the center, oddly arranged. It looked like some kind of shrine, barely visible in the dim light, but its very presence sent a chill racing down my spine. I approached cautiously, drawn in by an unseen force, or maybe it was the mounting fear driving me to uncover something I wished I'd left alone. As I stepped closer, I noticed objects strewn amongst the stones, small, weathered trinkets, bits of cloth, and even bones. My stomach twisted at the sight. They were remnants of something, or someone, left behind. I picked up a small metal charm, its surface warm to the touch, and felt a jolt of energy course through me. It was wrong. Whatever this was, it shouldn't have been here. Just then, a scratching sound erupted from behind me. Startled, I turned, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure, no longer a blurry shape, now loomed just on the edge of the clearing, illuminated by slivers of moonlight. It was tall and shadowy, blending seamlessly with the night. I dropped the charm, my instinct screaming that I needed to flee. That's when I saw it, a faint glow emanating from the figure's eyes, piercing the darkness with an unnatural light. "Leave this place," it whispered, its voice a low, raspy echo that ricocheted inside my skull. It was both a warning and a command, and I felt rooted in place, caught between freedom and the unknown. I knew I needed to move, but my legs wouldn't budge. Then, as if sensing my hesitation, the figure took a step forward. That was all it took for the fear to ignite into a full blaze. I turned and bolted, once more into the darkened woods, and my heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs. With every step, I promised myself I would find the car. But through the shadows, I could feel it. Something was following. Something was hungry. I pushed through the underbrush, branches scraping against my skin, leaving faint trails of discomfort behind. My heart pounded, a relentless drumbeat that drowned out every other sound. As I ran, the familiar sounds of the forest morphed into a cacophony of creeping shadows and rustling leaves, each noise igniting fresh fear. I ran faster, desperate to escape the darkness that lurked just behind me. My mind raced with thoughts of the figure, the glowing eyes that seemed to promise nothing but doom. Thoughts of the shrine flashed in my mind. It felt so wrong, like a curse sprang to life in the woods. Then, something changed. The ground beneath my feet transitioned abruptly from brush and soil to something hard and solid. I skidded to a halt, bending to catch my breath, braced against an ancient stone wall that I hadn't noticed before. It was weathered, partially hidden by vines, but the surface felt cold to the touch. I glanced back. The darkness was thick, but I couldn't see or hear the figure anymore. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps I had lost it. But the biting chill creeping up my spine warned me otherwise. I pressed my back against the wall and listened intently. That S when I heard it again, a low growl mixed with a whisper, blending into an otherworldly sound that sent shivers racing down my spine. Find what S lost, it seemed to say, and I shuddered involuntarily. I couldn't interpret the words. Was it a warning or some twisted riddle? I pulled myself together, relying on adrenaline as I scanned the area. Maybe I could find a path to the road beyond the wall. As I moved down the edge of the stone structure, I noticed a dim outline of an opening ahead. A narrow archway carved into the stone beckoned me forward. My instincts screamed to turn away, but I was so close to something, answers, perhaps. Curiosity warred with fear as I approached. I poked my head inside, lantern held high. The air was stale, carrying a dampness that hung in the shadows. Inside, I could make out faint carvings along the walls, dozens of symbols, all interconnected like a web. In the center of the room lay a single, cracked mirror propped against the wall. Cautiously, I stepped inside, drawn to the mirror's surface. It was dirty and reflective enough to distort the space behind me. My heart raced as I approached, feeling sick at the thought of seeing my own panic-stricken face staring back at me. But that's not what I saw. At first, the glass showed only my silhouette. Then, as though commanded by a force beyond my understanding, the image shifted. I blinked hard. The mirror revealed the clearing with the shrine, the trinkets scattered over the stones, and then the figure standing watch. The eyes glowing even brighter now, trained on me. My breath caught. What was happening? Without warning, the growl erupted again, drowning out my racing thoughts. Panic surged again. I had to escape. I turned to flee, but as I hit the threshold of the archway, I froze. The growl was much closer now, a menacing sound that left no doubt whatever was hunting me had found me. I had to run. But the path back through the archway was clear, and I could hear it now, claws scraping against stone. The darkness was no longer just a presence, it was alive, hungry, and it had me in its sights. I bolted through the archway, heart racing anew as I fled into the dark corridor. The echoes of the growling echoed ominously behind me, each step sounding heavier, closer. I couldn't look back, but the instinctual need to survive forced my legs into action. The passageway narrowed, and I had to duck beneath jagged stones jutting from the ceiling. My lantern flickered, casting strange shadows that danced like phantoms along the walls. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to find a way out before whatever was chasing me caught up. I sprinted forward until I stumbled into an expansive chamber, deeper than I imagined. The air felt charged, and a chill washed over me as I scanned the space. The mirror loomed ominously in the distance, now reflecting nothing but darkness. I knew I had to resist the urge to see what it showed next. In that moment, something caught my eye, a glint from the corner of the room. Moving cautiously, I approached the source, my breath shallow. It was a small, ornate box, intricately carved and dust-laden, half hidden beneath an overturned stone slab. Fear mingled with curiosity. What could be inside? A low rumble echoed through the chamber, unsettling the dust in the air. The growl was relentless now, a warning that there was no time to waste. I chose to ignore it. My fingers trembled as I brushed away the dirt, revealing a latch. The faint sound of scraping grew louder, and I quickly opened the box. Inside, I found a collection of trinkets, old coins, tiny figurines, remnants of something lost to time. But one object stood out, a small, silver locket. It felt impossibly cold in my hand. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a faded photograph of a young girl, eyes wide and bright, strikingly similar to those glowing eyes I had seen earlier. Suddenly, a fierce wind swept through the chamber, extinguishing my lantern and plunging me into darkness. I stumbled back, heart pounding. The growling morphed into a high, shrill laugh that echoed off the stone walls. I was not alone. Using my other senses, I scrambled to locate the entrance I had come from. I could feel the walls close in, the dampness and chill wrapping around me like a vice. I blindly moved, hands outstretched, trying to remember my path. Then, I heard it, a whisper melding into the laugh, "Find what's lost." The word sent chills spiraling down my back. Everything felt heavier, more oppressive, and instinct kicked in. I had to escape. I tore toward where I thought the archway waited. I didn't know how close the creature was, but the laughter twisted into a growl, hot and furious. I stumbled, nearly losing my footing, and then I felt a rush of air, followed by claws scratching through the darkness behind me. With one final push, I lunged into the narrow passage leading outside. I could feel the heat of whatever chased me just beyond my field of vision. I had to make it to the light. But as my hands grasped the edge of the archway, I was thrown back by an unseen force, landing on the cold stone floor. Gasping, I pushed myself up, staring into the inky blackness of the corridor. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows, the glowing eyes piercing through the darkness. My heart dropped. There was no escaping this time. I had found something, but it was far from what I expected. The chase was only just beginning. I felt the weight of those glowing eyes, frozen in place as fear coursed through my veins. I needed to act, but my body wouldn't respond. The sinister laugh echoed again, reverberating through the chamber. I had to remind myself to breathe. Staying still felt like a death sentence, so I forced myself to take a step back, eyes never leaving that terrifying figure. With a sudden surge of courage, I turned and bolted from the archway, not knowing where I was going, only that I needed to put as much distance as possible between me and that chilling silhouette. I could hear footsteps behind me, light and quick, almost playful. It was toying with me, savoring the chase. The laughter followed, bouncing off the walls, swirling around me like a haunting melody. I sprinted deeper into the maze of corridors, desperately searching for a place to hide. My heart raced as I pushed past thick cobwebs and jagged stones that scraped my arms. I needed to find another way out. My survival instincts kicked in, mixing with the edges of panic threatening to consume me. A soft glow emerged ahead, drawing my attention. I veered toward it, hoping it was a way out. Instead of an exit, I stumbled across an ancient stone altar, adorned with strange markings. A dusty book lay open atop it, its pages yellowed and fragile. I felt a shiver of desperation coat my spine. What secrets could that book hold? As I leaned close, a voice whispered in the back of my mind. "Read it. Find the truth." But the growling returned, louder this time, reminding me I didn't have that luxury. I grabbed the book, flipping the pages as fast as I could, looking for anything that might help me. Most passages were indecipherable, scrawled in a language I couldn't understand. But then I spotted a sketch in the margins, a depiction of the silver locket I had found, along with the same girl's face. "Show me the way," I muttered, unwillingly connecting my discovery with the girl. Was she a victim of whatever stalked me? My heart ached with a strange empathy as I stared at her innocent eyes, framed in the book's pages. Just then, the shadows behind me shifted dramatically, the pressure of the air thickening. I turned, and there it was, a creature, shrouded in darkness, its silhouette vast and terrifying. The glowing eyes locked onto mine, hungry and fierce. I had a moment to feel utterly paralyzed. That moment shattered when the altar erupted with energy, a blinding light engulfing the chamber. The creature recoiled, hissing as it dimmed beyond the light's reach. I felt a rush of adrenaline, realizing this was my chance. I fled toward the glow, the laughter and growls chasing me, but I knew I had to make it. The light led me to a narrow crack in the wall, just large enough for me to slip through. With every ounce of strength I had left, I squeezed through, feeling the claws of the creature snap at my heels as I emerged on the other side, collapsing onto the damp earth outside. Gasping for breath, I looked back at the dark entrance I had escaped from. The laughter faded, but I knew it wouldn't end here. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't done with me. I needed answers, and time was running out. I had to dive into the depths of what had happened, for the girl, for my own peace, and to brave the terrifying unknown that lay ahead. The air outside felt cool against my skin, a sharp contrast to the suffocating darkness I had just escaped. My hands trembled as I pushed myself to my feet. A glance back confirmed it. The entrance loomed like a gaping mouth, silently threatening. I took a few steps away, trying to catch my breath. That creature was still out there. I could feel it lurking, waiting for me to falter. I stumbled into the trees, grateful for the shelter they provided. I needed to think, to regroup. The whispers of the book echoed in my mind. What was it trying to tell me? I needed to know more about the girl in the drawing and how everything tied together. I took a few more calming breaths, hoping to steady my pounding heart. Searching my pockets, I found the locket. It had felt warm before, but now it was cold against my palm. I opened it, the creaking sound breaking the silence of the woods. Inside, a small photograph of the girl stared back at me. Her smile seemed innocent, yet something behind those eyes felt strangely familiar. "I'll find you," I vowed, even if I wasn't sure how I planned to do that. While the adrenaline faded into a heavy tiredness, I pushed on deeper into the woods. I needed to keep moving, away from the darkness of that chamber and closer to the truth. I imagined the girl's face guiding me, leading me towards answers. After what felt like hours, I came upon a small clearing with a rundown cabin. It looked abandoned, the wooden planks sagging under years of neglect. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but something about it drew me in. Perhaps it held more clues, or maybe it offered a moment of refuge. I approached cautiously, my breath hitching in my throat as I grasped the door's handle. The old wood creaked ominously as I pushed it open, revealing a dusty interior filled with shadows. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding weak and uncertain. No response. Just silence and the rustle of wind. As I stepped inside, the air felt charged. I scanned the room for anything useful. The furniture was old and battered, but the walls bore strange markings similar to those I had seen at the altar. My pulse quickened. Could this cabin belong to whoever had written that book? Then, I noticed a flicker of light coming from the back corner, illuminating what appeared to be a small table covered in trinkets. Among them was a replica of the locket, darker and tarnished with age. My heart raced as I picked it up, feeling an undeniable connection. That's when I saw it, a framed picture lying under a pile of dust behind the table. Cautiously, I lifted the frame, and I froze. The girl from the locket looked down at me, but this time I saw her in a different context. She was standing next to a man, his face obscured but unmistakably sinister. My breath caught. I didn't just stumble upon this cabin, it was a part of it all. As I pieced together fragments of truth, a loud crash echoed from outside, snapping me from my thoughts. I spun around, a surge of fear flooding me. Someone or something was approaching. Time was running out, and I needed to figure out what was hidden beneath the darkness of this place before whatever was out there found me first. I hurriedly shoved the picture under my arm, my heart pounding as I approached the window. Peering out, I caught sight of shadows flitting between the trees, cloaked figures reminiscent of the terrible entity from the woods. They moved quickly, flowing through the thick brush like smoke, merging with the darkness around them. I felt a cold sweat on my brow, the laughter echoed in my mind, taunting and ominous. I couldn't stay here. If they found me in this cabin, I would be lost. My instincts screamed for action, and I slipped the tarnished locket into my pocket alongside the photograph. There was no time for contemplation. I dashed toward the front door, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. But before I could reach it, the door swung open with a sudden burst. Standing there was the tall, shadowy figure, the glowing eyes blazing with an intensity that froze me in place. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed, the voice rippling through the air with a sinister undertone. The room seemed to darken around it, the light from the cabin dimming as its presence eclipsed everything. Panic surged within me, and I made a second later decision to run. I veered sharply to my left, darting into a side door I had nearly overlooked. The room was smaller, cluttered with old furniture and remnants of what might have once been a living area. Without thinking, I ducked behind an overturned chair, my breath shallow and rapid. The figure entered the cabin behind me, standing just inside the doorway. I listened, trying to gauge its next move. "Where are you?" It whispered, the voice a haunting echo that curled around my mind. I held my breath, praying I hadn't been heard. I couldn't stay hidden forever. I needed to find a way out. Gathering my courage, I peered around my makeshift cover. The window looked small but might be my only escape. I turned, inching toward it, but my heart dropped as the creature suddenly sniffed the air, its glow intensifying with awareness. My pulse raced. I had to act now. I lunged for the window, fingers grasping the sill as I pulled myself upward. Just then, a sharp wind blew through the room, terrifyingly powerful, and I felt a cold grip on my ankle. It was getting closer. With one swift motion, I kicked free of its hold and thrust myself out of the window, tumbling onto the damp ground outside. I gasped, adrenaline surging through my veins as I rolled and sprang to my feet. The shadows were still lurking nearby, moving swiftly, following the noise I had made. I sprinted away from the cabin, headed north, toward the familiar sounds of the forest, rustling leaves and distant water, anything that told me I was still alive and able to escape. My feet pounded against the uneven earth as I reached a narrow path. Instinct drove me forward, propelling me through the thicket as if the very essence of the woods itself was on my side. But the growling was still there, echoing through the trees, merging with the whispers of the forest. I rushed onward, branches clawing at my arms, but still, I pressed on. I didn't dare slow down or look back. After what felt like an eternity, I spotted a familiar road ahead, a faint outline marked by the glimmers of moonlight. I rushed toward it, relief flooding me with every step. I was close. I could make it back to my car. As I burst into the clearing, I skidded to a halt. My vehicle sat dimly illuminated by the moon, unscathed and waiting. I dashed toward it and yanked the door open, jumping inside and slamming it shut behind me. My hands trembled as I slid the key into the ignition. That's when I spotted it in the rearview mirror, the creature. It stood at the edge of the tree line, its eyes bright against the darkness, watching me. The chilling laughter filled my ears once more as I turned the key, praying it would start. The engine roared to life, and I slammed my foot on the gas, kicking up gravel as I sped away. The night rushed past at an alarming rate, the road unfurling like a ribbon before me. But even with the speed, I could feel the heavy darkness lingering. The whispers echoing just out of reach. I drove, not looking back, but I still felt the weight of the haunting eyes on my back. The road twisted and turned through the forest, shadows flickering in the periphery of my vision like insistent memories. And as I drove, I realized that no matter how far I ran, the ghost of Eldridge was not just behind me, it was woven throughout me. I would carry those whispers, the visions of the girl and her connection to the boy named Ben, forever in my mind. I didn't know how to shake the unease settling in my gut or if I ever would. I moved to a different town the following week, hoping to escape the shadows chasing me. And while I tried to start a new chapter, I couldn't help but glance back toward those mountains, wondering if the stories persisted, blending between the supernatural and the natural. I sometimes think about that girl and what truly happened in Eldridge. I still don't know if I want to find out.